Hey guys, Joe here, and the footage is going to look a little different today because I'm actually using my father's GoPro Hero 8 Black, trying to learn it a little bit so I can help him for his upcoming channel. I'll keep you updated on that when he starts that because it ought to be pretty damn cool. But that's not what you're here for today. You guys are here to see a firearm, and in this case, pun intended, is a Mauser. So let's open it up, take a look at it. It's very interesting, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So if you like this kind of video, thanks for checking it out. Maybe consider subscribing. Use my Amazon affiliate links down below. That way I can actually start purchasing some firearms again, and then we can go out to the range as soon as they open that back up, and then we can have a good time taking a look at stuff like this Mauser M2. That's also a SIG. Let me explain real quick. SIG Arms, before it became Sig Sauer USA, bought Mauser, number one, to have their name, but number two, to have this pistol. This is a double stack, 9mm, striker fired semi-automatic pistol with a rotating barrel. That's a lot to take in. And quite honestly, it was a lot to take in for the people who were looking for firearms between 1999 and 2004, which is why this gun was a flop. Straight up, no other way to say it, this gun flopped. Doesn't mean it's a bad gun, and as we're going to take a look, you're going to actually enjoy it. And I believe I said it was a 9mm. I'm sorry, this is a 45 ACP. My apologies. Let's go ahead and take a look at the box real quick. Inside the box, you get a very nice foam insert, one extra mag in this instance, a instruction booklet, which is very necessary if you've never taken one of these apart, which I hadn't before I filmed this, as well as a gun lock, which is underneath the bottom foam. Very nice case. I approve of it. It looks good. And we'll set that aside now because it doesn't matter. This is what matters. This is another chunky boy. But believe it or not, this is longer than that 1911 we looked at, the Rock Island double stack 45. However, this gun only holds 8 rounds versus the 10 of the Rock Island. So 8 plus 1 equaling 9 is still impressive for a 45 that's this small. Guns that would be of a similar size would be guns like the Springfield XDS 45 or the Glock 45. I believe it's the 29 or the 30 or something. Let's go ahead and do a safety check real quick. In order to do that, you're going to bring it back, lock the slide open. You're going to then take a look visually, as well as make sure that nothing got in there. Being a smaller pistol, I can damn near get my finger all the way through it like I did with the Rock Island. But now we know that this particular firearm is safe. Go ahead and drop the slide. That was a little fast, but I did catch it at the end, so no dang comments, please. And let's take a look at it. So as you can see, it's a steel upper with an alloy frame, which was very common in the 80s to 90s to early 2000s. They wanted to keep some heft in the firearms without going to a full polymer lower, and this is how they did it. Usually had an aluminum frame because all the pressure is contained up here in the chamber and the breech, and this isn't as important, otherwise there wouldn't be polymer lowers. Do apologize, my voice is going out a little bit. I've filmed 5 other videos today as well as a computer video, and my voice is kind of These were imported by SIG. They are not designed by SIG. SIG had nothing to do with it other than changing the grip. That is a very SIG style grip with stippling on it. Otherwise, this is all Mauser. It's a fixed front sight and fixed rear sight, and it is dovetailed, so there may be sights that you can put in there, but I'm not 100% sure. It's not a bad sight picture. It's a very bright white front dot. The line here on the back isn't as distracting as 2 dots on the side, so you should be able to get a pretty good picture. What is a little disturbing is the location of the safety on the back of the gun. That's in a different position. Mausers have had them before, and supposedly it's not that hard to do. You can actually release the safety while it's still in your holster without having to reach down the side of the firearm, which is a convenient place to have it. One thing I'm not a fan of all these import guns is this one does have a magazine disconnect, so I had to put the magazine back in to demonstrate the safe. When it's on safe, you can still rack the firearm, which is good because then you can rack a chamber, you can rack around into it even while it's on safe. However, the trigger is blocked. It's a trigger block safety. When you move it over to fire, boom, and it is single action only. Talk about the trigger real quick, using the wall as a visual aid. It's pretty heavy. It's an import gun for one. Number two, it's an older gun. This one has a probably 9-poundish trigger on it. Comes all the way back, just kind of stops, and then you gotta pull hard straight through. Smooth, but hard. Reset, when you don't have to keep doing that because the magazine has to be in it, is pretty much at the same point. And then it just goes into the next shot. This party trick is that it is a rotating barrel. Let me drop the magazine and do one more safety check since I just, had to have the magazine in it. We're good. And show you that this has what is called a rotating barrel. Grand Powers had them. A few other guns have them. I know the Beretta PX4 has one. So as you can see, instead of locking up against the front of the ejection port or breech lockup, or having lugs in it that release when the slide cycles backwards, it's not a tilting action, this one rotates. You can see those two lugs start moving, which then releases the barrel. When they move over, the slide can continue on its way. When they come back, it locks back up so that you can fire the next shot. This means that the barrel stays in line the entire time, which theoretically should aid with your accuracy. You also have to keep in mind you're firing a 45 ACP or a 40 or even a 357 SIG out of a just over 3-inch barrel. One quick aside for people that wonder when you see the number 3-inch barrel, that also takes into account the length from the chamber to the end of the barrel. So on the Rock Island, which was listed as a 3.1-inch barrel, it literally had like an 1 3/4 barrel and the bullet sat inside there. You can see this one is quite a bit substantially longer. It's probably an inch longer overall, but it's set farther back in the gun. The grip is, again, in competition with its contemporaries, although I'm not even sure if there were really contemporaries back in that time, but it's a short frame. No undercut here. An undercut here might have gotten your pinky up a little bit higher, as well as the fact that the grips actually extend down. The frame is actually up here. These are the grips that come down, and they can bite you a little bit. But with the magazine installed, plenty of room. Get a full grip on there. The back strap, again, because of the design of the grip, allows you to get a full grip on the firearm. It's still going to be a bit of a beast to shoot, though. Well, now the part I've been dreading, because this part is going to suck. If you notice, there's a bar here that I didn't talk about yet. The reason being is, it's not the safety. That's the safety. That's the disassembly lever. However, it's not as easy as that. What we need to do, safety check the firearm one more time. Nothing in it. We are clear. Go ahead and lock this son of a gun all the way to the rear, and then take this lever and stick it straight in the air. Okay, now what? Well, you come over to this side, and much like a 1911, Browning High Power, a lot of other firearms for that matter, you need to pull out the slide lock, slide release. However, keep in mind that the instant you do, guess what's going to happen? So you'll see how fast it comes out when I pull this out. You'll actually hear it try to snap back shut. So you have to fight the entire weight of the guide rod for a 45 ACP pistol while disassembling it. Really freaking annoying. The only good news is that it actually doesn't need the trigger pull to disassemble it. Okay, if that's the compromise you want to make. It is a captive spring, probably because they assume you're going to launch the slide across the room. The barrel, again, is a rotating barrel, so you need to line it up and then find the right spot here to get it out. I had it apart the other day. I apologize. There you go. So you need to bring the lugs forward so that they clear this rail inside. Taking a look at the barrel, you can see how it locks up. It locks up more like a breech does, or a piston would on an AR-15, or even that Desert Eagle we looked at. So those turn over and lock in place. When you fire the gun, the top lugs, as well as the cam in here, or top cam, and the cam down here, you can see how it's angled. So the gun is sitting in the closed position, and when you fire it, Sorry, the closed position is forward a little bit. So when you fire it, it's going to rotate the barrel and it's going to move straight back. Doesn't move much, but just enough to move these lugs out of the way so that the slide can continue backwards and then the gun can recycle. Yeah, overall though, the fit and finish of the barrel to the gun is pretty damn nice. Again, these didn't fail because of their internal components. They failed because it was an odd duck gun in the Glock world. Straight up, late 90s, early 2000s. If it wasn't a Beretta, it was a Glock, and this was neither. Inside, it's pretty nicely finished, even though it's probably had a bunch of rounds put through it from what I can see. It's in good shape. Rails are nice and beefy. No distortion, no color changes from firing, which means that the chamber holds pressure correctly. It just, overall, it's a pretty nice looking pistol. It does have a drop safety back here, which is nice to have, just in case. And now we can take a look at the frame. Again, very light, even though it is metal, because it's A, small, and B, made out of aluminum. This is an insert. It's made out of steel. Obviously, it should be in order to absorb a little bit more, you know, oomph from this cam or the piston or the lug coming back and smacking it. Does have a ramp that's been kind of shaved into this flat piece of metal, which is good because that means it will help it line up hollow points with the barrel. The barrel itself is not ramped, however, it does sit really flush. So hopefully that means that it will line up well and then not have a problem feeding. It really shouldn't based on what I'm seeing. You can see how high the magazine presents. Imagine a round being in there. It should present no problem. But yeah, that's your field stripped Mauser M2. Now for reassembly, just take your barrel, take your frame, flip it over. You're going to tuck in the barrel, but you need to do it so that those lugs are on the other side. So they're rotated the wrong way right now, so we come back, there you go. With the lugs not rotated correctly, the gun will not seat correctly, so you need to keep doing that until, boom, there you go. Now we're lined up. Keeping the barrel upside down, we can go ahead and reinstall the spring. You can see there are two different sizes here, a small and a big. Big goes at the back, small goes at the front. There you go. And then you're going to come in, you're going to have to hold the barrel in place and drop the spring in front of it. Spring has to be flat, otherwise the gun will not reassemble correctly. There we go. Next thing to do is take your frame and your slide. The fit is nice and tight, so you can go ahead and hold it the right way up. Slide it back together while pulling back to the disassembly point. At that point, you can put the slide lock back in. Sorry, it's a little awkward to do. Okay, once you have the slide back, you'll see that there's a half moon cut there. You take a look at your slide lock, you'll see that there's a half moon cut on there. You need to line that up and get it started in there. Might be a little bit, you know, fighty, but you'll get it. And then bring the gun all the way back, lock it in place while pushing the slide lock back in. Once you do that, you should be able to push it so that this tab comes out the other side. Once you do that, go ahead and lower the slide and test the functionality. Magazine release. Magazine disconnect. But there you go. So, that is the Mauser M2 by SIG. Not a commercial success, but seems to be a pretty solid pistol other than that wonky takedown setup. Would you buy it? Let me know in the comments. This gun is for sale at Liberty Arms. You can Google it. They're in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Just call them up. Say, hey man, I saw a Mauser online and I want to buy that thing. And they will hook you up. They might not even raise the price this time. Just kidding. If they don't treat you right, message me. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great night. I have a splitting headache. I'm going to take a bunch of aspirin and go to bed. And, as always, I'll talk to you later.